The mission briefing lasted less than 10 minutes. No questions were allowed, no discussion, no alternatives. The men sitting in the room already understood why. This was not a mission designed for success. It was designed to buy time. The unit assigned to it was small, fewer than 30 soldiers, lightly equipped, exhausted from weeks of continuous movement. They were being sent into territory the enemy had controlled for months. Command knew the area was compromised. They knew the maps were outdated. They knew air support would be unavailable. But there was something more important than their survival. Time. Time for a larger force to reposition. Time for civilians to evacuate. Time for a retreat that could not happen if the enemy advanced any further. Someone had to hold the line. And this unit was chosen. They moved before sunrise. The air was cold and heavy, pressing against their lungs as they advanced through uneven terrain. Each step felt louder than it should have been. Every shadow looked like movement. Radio silence was mandatory. Communication had already failed once that week. No one trusted the equipment anymore. By the first hour, it became clear something was wrong. The route they were supposed to follow no longer existed. Paths marked on the map were swallowed by vegetation and debris. Landmarks were missing. They adjusted course, then adjusted again. With every correction, they moved deeper into hostile ground. Turning back was discussed quietly, then dismissed. By that point, retreat would have exposed them. The first shot came without warning, a single crack from the tree line, sharp, precise. One soldier went down instantly, no scream, no last words, just silence. Then everything exploded. Gunfire erupted from multiple directions. Smoke filled the air. Commands overlapped, contradicted, then vanished entirely. The chain of command collapsed in minutes. This was no longer a mission. It was survival. They took cover where they could, behind rocks, behind burned-out vehicles, in shallow trenches carved by previous battles. Minutes felt like hours. Ammo ran low. Medical supplies ran out faster. The wounded were dragged to whatever protection existed. Some could still fight. Some could only wait. Radio contact was attempted again. Nothing. No response. No confirmation that anyone even knew they were alive. At this point, logic suggested retreat. But retreat meant crossing open ground under fire. Retreat meant exposing the wounded. Retreat meant certain collapse. That was when the decision was made. Instead of pulling back, they would push forward. Not toward victory, toward disruption. If they could strike deep enough, fast enough, they might confuse the enemy long enough to achieve what command truly wanted. Delay. They split into smaller elements, moved through smoke and noise, using chaos as cover. Every meter gained came at a cost. Another soldier fell, then another. But something unexpected happened. The enemy hesitated. Their fire became disorganized. Their movements slowed. They had not expected resistance this deep. That hesitation was everything. By the time the enemy realized what was happening, the window had already opened. Somewhere far behind the lines, larger forces moved. Evacuations began. Positions shifted. The mission objective, never written down, was being achieved. Eventually, extraction orders came through. Short, cold, delayed. Those still standing regrouped and pulled back under cover of darkness. Not everyone made it. When reports were written, the mission was labeled a success. Objectives achieved, enemy delayed, strategic advantage secured. The numbers looked acceptable on paper. Those who survived knew better. They understood the truth. It was not a victory. It was survival disguised as success. History remembers outcomes. It remembers maps changing colors, lines moving forward or backward. It rarely remembers the cost paid in minutes, meters, and lives. And some missions should never have been approved.